Every great salesperson knows that deals are won and lost in the discovery phase. In this video, I review a live discovery call recording with Ruin, a software account executive. I break down step by step what went well and the exact tweaks that can be made with even the toughest prospects. Check it out here. I'm going to cover all the intricacies of running a call. So not just like, oh, we should ask this question or we should like did this. That's all important. We're going to discuss power dynamics, how to really influence, how to actually shift behaviors on a call. Because all those things are really important and they're all part of your sales process too. So that being said, let's hit play.
Hi Shay, how are you?
Good.
Great. Thanks for joining. How's the week been so far?
Good, thank you.
Awesome.
So immediately we can already tell this is one of those guys who's like, let me give you like one word responses. Gotta love that, right? That's okay. Whenever I start a call like this, I always like to think, what type of personality is this person going to be on the call? And how do I need to adjust my style for this? So this way it doesn't throw me off. He's a director personality type, which means potentially how we ask questions and how we present might need to be modified to align to this. But let's just find out what happens.
Just waiting here for Trent, who will be joining us here in a second. I know we have 45 minutes. We might not go all the way, but just curious if that time still works for you.
If we can stick to a half hour, that would be best. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So not bad. It's safe to say, Ruin, when he came off short and direct, it maybe threw you off a little bit.
Well, I originally, when I called him and he was the same personality, I was expecting something similar. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I was thrown off, but
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised by his initial reaction.
Yeah, it's no problem at all. So what happens in the situation here, the next question you ask is actually really important. So the first question you ask here is, does the time frame we set aside still work for you? It's not necessarily a bad question. It's just a very logical question. And we want the guy to hopefully open up a little more and hopefully talk a little more. So asking another question to open up more is going to be a little bit better. It doesn't have to be about the business. It could be like if it's an afternoon call. Well, how's your morning going so far? It's going good. Cool. Do anything exciting or fun? Try to open up, try to ease him out of his shell a little bit. It may or may not work, but I want to try to stay away from some of these more transactional questions of, hey, does this time still work for you? It might be relevant for you. It's too logical of a question. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah,
Right.
it does.
Okay. It may not change how the rest of the call goes, by the way. But if I could chip off some of the ice off Mr. Frosty here, I'm going to do my best to try to open up a little bit more. Okay. So totally cool. And it's whatever leverage you have. If it's a Monday, hey, do the fun over the weekend. If it's a Friday, how the week goes so far, big plans for the weekend, just to open them up a little bit more, right? And if they respond like, oh, nothing really, then it's always good to share something personal about yourself. Oh, hey, no worries. Well, I'm actually going to go skiing this weekend. We're looking forward to it. Ever been skiing before? If he's not having it, no problem. We can get right in business then. So we try to break off some of the ice off Mr. Frosty. But we'll see what happens next.
Okay, sure. Awesome. Let me just change the screen here. We'll wait here a second. Okay, here we go. So Shay, I know while we wait here for Trent, he actually connected with, I think it's Yolanda, one of the founders of the agency that you guys used to work with in the past. I think it was about 2 years ago. Are you guys still working with that same agency?
Yes,
Awesome. Great. How's it going still?
goes well.
Great. Here we have Trent. Trent, hey.
Hey guys, sorry, I'm a little late. Hey Shay, how are you?
So I think you did a good attempt there, right? You're trying to bring in like, what's some knowledge I already have in place that I can bring up, try to bridge that gap a little bit, right? And it didn't necessarily go the way you want, and that's okay, right?
That's spot on. I was trying to, get a little more context of, hey, I know there's some history, leverage that information, trying to understand how's everything going, and it's a one-way street.
And that happens. Was that data you guys had in your CRM or you heard from your manager about?
Yeah, I went through our CRM and checked out like the conversation that happened about a year or two ago.
Yeah. And I think this is a good learning point where sometimes we see the data in a CRM, we have to take it with a grain of salt. It could be right, could be wrong. Some of it helps us, some of it hurts us. We don't really know. So we'll keep going. So now we know Trent is about to hop on. Let's see how the rest of the call goes. And by the way, the different pivot would be to ask other open-ended questions.
Yep.
Right. And that could be questions about, like, if, for example, because he was open to the call, right? Because you reach out to him, ask him why he's open to have the call to begin with. Hey, so, first of all, I know I reached out to you, open to have a conversation. Can you tell me what sparked you to say yes to our conversation? Now he'll hopefully explain that and he can dive a little deeper, which is potentially an angle you could go if you're unsure about the data or if you're unsure about the path to go forward. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does.
Good.
we're just about to jump in. Trent and Shane informed me that they're still with the same agency and it's still going pretty well. And I wanted to, Trent, why don't you just give a full background about yourself and the conversation we've had in the past?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Hey, Shay, I'm the sales manager here, but I've been with the company for about 4 years. Spent a little time over in account management running that team as well. So I'm kind of well-versed in the motometric ways. I did meet with, I believe, the head of your agency, Yolanda, maybe, a little while back. And I think things were going well then there too. We went over a little bit of the copy. We're just, kind of the 30,000 foot view on motometrics. We're a generative AI company, which I know is all over LinkedIn and the internet right now. We've been doing it since 2016 with large players in Microsoft and the Google space. She was telling me actually that you guys have an interesting setup. She was saying she was meeting with the heads of departments for writing the content in the RSAs, like the headlines and descriptions that was going into them. Is that still kind of the procedure there or the process, or are you kind of like hands off and not really too involved in that?
I have no idea what you're referring to.
Yeah, that was cold.
That was cold. This is like Iceman out here. And this happens sometimes where Trent jumps on. He didn't have any context of the situation. Jumps in like super hot, which is the opposite of the flow this guy really wants. Right. So you immediately rubs the guy the wrong. I personally have to be careful with this too, because I'm a high energy guy. I have to do my best to control it, especially with certain prospects. But also, that was a lot of information for someone to take in to kind of process everything. Right. He's better off to pop on the call, say, hey, Mr. Customer, hey, Mr. Prospect, hey, great to meet you. Trent, I'm here to support you and answer any questions you may have and allow you to kind of take control. What happens is like now, not only has the power dynamic shifted from the prospects, now you also lose some of the power to your boss too. That totally just the dynamic of how questions get answered. So I'll give you examples in the field with the sales team. If I went on a call with sales rep with a prospect, if I told them that I was their sales director or sales manager, immediately the prospect would just look at me, like just throughout the call, instinctually. So instead, I always have to pivot myself and say, I'm just a new guy learning. And they would like ignore me basically. I'm like, great. Because I want the attention to be on, Ruined on the sales professional, right? Regardless whether they does that or not, going in and call someone else is better off to just keep it a little more simple. Hey, nice to meet you. This is what it's all about. It's always key. The other point is whenever there's prior data changes all the time. So assuming the data is still the same from the last conversation is always a dangerous game, right? Versus kind of slowing down. How you kind of verifying the data a little bit before, it's a little bit better move. So good learning. Yeah. But we'll see what happens after Mr. Iceman dropped that piece.
With the content creation?
I know all about our content creation, but I have no idea what you're referring to.
Okay. So maybe I was mistaken then. The ads for Google and Microsoft, how do you guys create those?
We talk about target audiences, build the audiences, look at offers, run tests, execute typical approaches. Well, I don't think there's a lot of unusual activity in that respect.
Okay, Ruan reached out to you about redirecting traffic from some of your competitor sites. Is that what sparked interest here for this call?
Yes.
All right. Good kind of recovery a little bit. Now, if we could reword the question to an open-ended question, a little bit better. Maybe it was that specifically or something else. So let's just say Trent could redo this situation. He comes on, hey, I'm here to support Ruin. I'm happy to help. Just so I have some context, what sparked you to say, let's have a conversation? Very open-ended. We toss the ball. They might just say, oh, competitor retargeting. Cool. Tell me a little more about that. What do you mean specifically? You can start kind of diving from there. All right. So more open-ended question kind of opens the conversation up, especially for a tough prospect. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense so far? Good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. Yeah. We should have asked more questions. Like here, he does well to try to bring it back. Yeah, I think we're so far down. We're down that
hole. Once you kind of like start falling down the ladder of the hole a little bit, it's like so much harder to crawl out. Yeah. So it's being able to hopefully catch it and then try to like recover a little bit, right? Because we don't know if we ask more questions up front, perhaps maybe he'd be maybe not like super nice, maybe a little more open to conversation. We don't really know, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how can we, as professionals, curate an environment where they perceive us as a trusted advisors, where we're simply asking questions to uncover what's really going on to show them the best solution, right? So it's like, how do we adjust our tone? How do we adjust what questions we have? How do we change closed-ended to an open-ended? Those things can also shift it as well. But now we got a little bit of a hook, so we'll kind of see how it goes from here.
Okay, so maybe we'll start with that,
yeah,
and then how we do it, and see if you have any questions as that goes along. Do you own the agency relationship, Shay? Did you bring them up?
So if you notice here, he's he's kind of pivoting now to back to the agency relationship. This is actually a good point where he finally agreed to something. Now we want to expand and open that up.
Yep.
Hey, tell me, so what about it specifically interested you? And you can ask some situation questions like, what are you currently doing for X? And this could be for anything. This could be for specific retargeting to anything else. You have a little bit of opening and you want to uncover what I call the rim. So the rim is what's the relevance, what's the impact, and what's the motive. So he says this is important for him. Can you help me understand how come this is important for you? At this point, he may talk about what he's currently doing. If he's not saying, you can ask about what he's currently doing, and then uncover, is there an impact? So this is not working because you're doing access. How's that impacting you? How's it impacting your business? How's it impacting your clients? How's it impacting your employees? So what we're going to uncover from there is his motive behind why this is interesting. There's a motive he has for some reason. Well, we want to do competitive retargeting because it's going to help allow us to enter into new markets. Tell me a little more. Why is that important for you? Well, it's really important because we've been really good in the US, Canada market, but we haven't been able to expand into South America or into Europe. Okay. And why is that important for you? Well, that's really important for me because we have goals to double the size of the business in the next 2 years. Got it. And why specifically 2 years? Well, it's because of X, Y. So you start like unraveling a little bit once you get a little bit of a hook. It's almost, you have a magnifying glass and we caught something that was 10x magnification. Now let's go 50x magnification. Now let's go 100x. Let's go 1000x. We can extrapolate as much from there as we can off that single thread. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does.
Because then from there, once you kind of extrapolate all that, now if you need to pivot to asking the agency relationship, you can do that too. That's totally fine. But we know sequentially in the terms of conversation, it makes a lot of sense versus asking a little bit here, going to agency, going to this, it becomes very surface level, right? So we'll see what happens here.
Well, let's dive right in. So thanks, Jay, for giving a little bit of context. So the agenda for this call is just, I think we'll try to focus on how we can help redirect traffic from competitors, especially Herzing. That's what I've called you about. 30,000 foot view. We are a natural language processing company, and we focus on just generative AI for paid search. The whole goal is to put the human at the forefront, leveraging AI to get the benefits such as increased productivity and increased performance for paid search. So everything outside of bidding, and what that stipulates to three areas is account structure. We're going to help you organize the account. So the account.
So you're starting to go into pitch here now, right?
Yeah.
So we're roughly 3 minutes in. It's pretty early to go into a pitch because we haven't earned the right to actually pitch. So before you go into a pitch, a demo, even if it's a verbal one, I know you're showing something on screen, right? But before you go into like a demo deck, there's a couple different sales that have to happen first. So the very first sale that has to happen is they must be sold. They have a big problem. Again, they have to be sold. They have a big problem. If they're not sold, they have a big problem. Do you think they'll be open to your solution?
No.
And sometimes what ends up happening is, let's say you go through your solution and it's a banger solution. It's absolutely incredible, which I'm sure it is. If they perceive it to be similar to something you've already done or we're already doing, they say, oh, we already got something like that.
Yeah.
Because we didn't uncover that to begin with. And it doesn't allow us to adjust the demo to sell against what they perceive to be an incorrect belief or assumption. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does.
Okay, let's keep going.
Keywords, like you said, target audience, like how you're going to identify those and then create content at the most granular level. So at the asset level, we actually look at headlines and descriptions, which Trent mentioned within specific RSAs. If one RSA is performing, but there is, say, for example, 4 headlines that are not performing, we have the ability to go in there and change out the headlines without removing the entire RSA. So everything outside of bidding, account structure optimization, and then most importantly, generative AI to help you identify audiences that you might be missing out and also generate the copy to help better speak to those audiences. And then, when it comes to how we redirect the traffic from the competitors, so as of today in paid search, you really need to have 2 levers. Is either you're going to improve the quality or you're going to spend more to get that auction. And I'm sure you're aware of this is straight from Google's best practices, where they showcase and highlight the fact that even though they might have a higher bid, you can still win that position if you have higher relevant keywords or your ads are more relevant to that specific audiences, meaning your quality scores are going to increase. And I'm just curious, so you did say, you have your approach to generating content and targeting audiences today, Jay. But what else are you guys trying to do to capture traffic from Herzing today?
That was a lot of information, just so you know. I think probably 80 seconds of pitching. Now, this is at 1.5x speed. So that actually means it's probably about 2 minutes or more of pitching, just like straight pitching. That's a lot for someone to internalize. maybe probably got 10% of what you said.
Probably, yeah.
So that makes it a little hard, right? And then you frame up a question at the very end. Imagine, what if you reversed it? You go down the magnifying the pane, like I mentioned, the rim, ask a question instead. I think you'll have a better conversation now as a result. So that's how you want to start thinking about it. How can I ask more questions up front to kind of set it up? Let's keep going, see how he responds.
I'm not trying to capture traffic from Herzing. We don't offer all the same programs going on in the same market. So we don't offer the online options that they offer. So I don't think that's an accurate statement.
So this is actually a classic example of present too early. We potentially put our foot in our own mouth. Present, then we ask a question about it, and then they're like, no, we don't do any of that. And you're like, shoot.
Yeah, that's definitely on me. I should have done more research before the call, but I sent him some emails, called him, and then when I called him about the email, I saw he opened the email a couple of times. I just asked him about it, and he's like, oh, yeah, well, you know, and this is where it's changed. I didn't even ask about setting up a call. He said, we should probably set some time to discuss this.
Yeah, so he opened it up, right?
Yeah, so on the call, the original call, he opened it up. Let's discuss this on an actual, more formal conversation. So
yeah,
he set me up big time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in reality, we fall to level of our training and our systems. So when we're in a moment of stress, because this is real talk, this is a stressful situation. When you're live on a call, you're having a super jerk of a prospect who's being like just not a nice guy, and they're not being open, and you're doing your best, and your boss is on the call. That's a very stressful situation all across the board. So that's hard. You know, that's why having default protocols like asking questions can help guide the conversation a little more. It won't be perfect, but if I'm in a tough conversation with a prospect, the more I get them talking, the better it's going to be. The more questions I can ask them, the better it's going to be, right? Having some good default things to go into. Because when we start presenting, it can go either way. Sometimes we get lucky and we kind of throw a bunch of spaghetti in the wall and we just hit it home, like it's amazing. But most of the time we don't. That's what ends up happening.
What Ruman's trying to get at is just that there's a finite amount of traffic on Google, and you're looking to increase your market share. You have to take that traffic from.
I understand that, but we don't have a large online portfolio, and we only share 2 markets, physical markets. So most of our students come from within a 20-mile radius of our campuses. So you guys sent a note, said this is something you guys do. Yeah, I'm interested. I want to hear how you guys do it. How would you target? Herzing in particular is not a direct competitor across my 17 locations. It's across 2, but not 17. So wanted to hear how you do it, how you go about it, what's your approach? Because we don't typically bid on competitor keywords, because that sends you down a bad rabbit hole with your competitor. You'll go into a bidding war and drive both of your costs up, and you're less relevant. So you're going to end up with a high cost per lead, high cost per click. So when you guys say, hey, we can do this, okay, how do you do it affordably? That is not necessarily targeting their branded keywords.
So maybe instead of saying Herzing, you should do set competitors.
Yeah.
But the way that we do it, it's right here in the bold, Shay. And if you improve the quality of your marketing community.
So what happens here now is he's looking to justify, right? He's looking to justify what you guys talked about versus going a little deeper. Why he's on the call? Hey, tell me more. What are you guys currently doing then? How do you guys currently do it? What have you tried in the past? So even uncovering what they've done in the past is really, really important, because if you show something that can be similar to what they've done in the past that they don't deem worked, then when you bring it up, if you don't know that, he's like, oh, we've already tried that. We don't bid on competitive keywords, and here's why. And they have all these reasons why. Now, what happens is when we start presenting too early is we basically start creating all this sales resistance between us and them. So they start finding more reasons why to not have a conversation with you, right? Like, okay, here's another reason why. Here's another reason why. It almost like the moat expands against you, right? Trent should just go a little bit deeper, uncover what are they currently doing, why do they do it that way, what have they tried, and what is their end outcome and goals they want to achieve by doing whatever they want to do, and why is that important for them. And by the way, like, there's times, man, when I've been on a call like myself, and I make the same mistake. And I start talking. But if I can catch myself, I'm like, oh shoot, like, pause. Let me just slow down for a second. Actually, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, can you help me understand a little more about X? That's okay, by the way. Just be aware that even if you start going down the rabbit hole presenting, it's going to pause yourself if you realize you missed something, okay? And bring yourself back. Hey, really quick, if you're enjoying this video and you'd like to learn the exact sales system that helped me hit and exceed my quota 13 years in a row up to 250% while winning every single War Like Friends Club year after year after year, head to the link in the description below and you can book a call with my team to see if our coaching program is a good fit for you. All right, let's get back to it.
Pleasing both the Google auction and then providing an enhanced user experience, you're likely to increase your engagement and thus your conversions on the back end. How we do that is through leveraging artificial intelligence, specifically natural language processing, machine learning, deep neural networks to target those audiences.
Yeah, I think this is a good segue, Shane. How we actually do this is with our ability to leverage AIs, we're going to look at all the search query data coming up, your keyword sets, and then we're going to help you identify all these search intents that are coming up the keyword sets. For example, just showing here like the keyword and the alignment, how far is this off from the keyword. We're going to help you, first of all, map out the search intent space. We're going to help you evaluate the ad content in your account as of today. You know, how best are you speaking to these specific audiences with the content in your program? And then maybe more importantly, we're going to help you identify where there are gaps in your program. For example, you know, there may be some search intents or themes within the account that you're missing. And this could be an opportunity for you to create content around these themes, create the content, and then drive down some of your CPCs. This is kind of contextual. But would you see value, or does this explain a little bit more how we do it?
Hey, good job here. You're pausing and you're just like going for a little trial close, a little tie down, seeing how he's adapting to it, which is good.
I don't see you showing me the how. I see you showing me the what, the outcome you're looking to do. We have to understand how. You're going to audit my search queries and our campaigns and then do what? After that, I'm not understanding how are you different than doing some paid search audit and then using a machine learning ad campaign that Google tries to get everyone to do anyways. So how are you different, or what is unique? Who have you done this for? Do you have schools that you've done this for that works for them?
So these are uncertainty objections. Uncertainty about the method, the solution, the offer, uncertainty about how does this work for other people in his industry, which are really common objections that pop up when we start presenting too early. They're not quite mentally there yet. So I want you to think about even some things you're talking about from the content, etc. Even if you're going to do like the combo disco demo, which is kind of what's happening now, imagine before you show what you want to show, discuss it, how can you ask questions about what they're doing right to show it? So you think about any slide you want to show for any feature, how can you ask questions before what they're currently doing? Hey, in terms of content, how are you currently leveraging your content? How are you currently using Google AdWords? How are you currently doing this? Tell me a little more about it. Why do you do it that way? What have you tried in the past? This way you have an understanding of what they've already done so far, because it may lead to you explaining it a little bit differently so they have a better understanding of how it's actually different than everything they've already seen before. Otherwise, they can be like, well, that's just like everything else I've already seen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. It does. And this is helpful for me going into my call here. And what is it, in half an hour? For sure, taking notes, ask questions before. And that does make sense. Like, for example, before presenting something, asking questions, it's obviously going to help myself present better as well, understanding like, what are they doing? What have they been trying? Okay, now that I understand that, this is, I guess, how we differentiate.
Totally. And also, since you guys have a pretty comprehensive solution, like you know that maybe not everything within the solution is what they need, but other parts will be able to really leverage. So let's say, for example, if you're about to explain something and you ask a question what they're currently doing and what they've tried before, like you can tell that there's a heavy bias towards it. Like, oh yeah, it's not going to work because of this reason. Now you probably don't want to even present a part of your solution. Because you know they'll still get value to the other parts. Like, okay, that makes perfect sense on why it hasn't worked. So what about this? How do you currently do X on this? And you look for different leverage points, right? That's why it's dangerous to actually have a deck on a demo or a deck out on a discovery/demo, because you almost feel compelled to show everything, but they don't need everything. You know, I always imagine your deck and everything you're going to show is like, it's like a buffet, and not everyone eats everything in the buffet. If you can ask the right questions up front and you uncover what they actually want to see in the buffet, actually show them the buffet. It's like, hey, here's the things you actually want. That's all they care about, right? And the mistakes that we make is we want to show them everything, but when we show them everything, oftentimes we show them things that it gives them reason to not move forward. Like, I don't really need that. Like, it's like selling steaks to a vegan. It doesn't make any sense. Like, you gotta uncover what do they actually like to eat, and you show them that.
Trent, you want to touch on the how? I don't know if you want to. Yeah, you want to touch on the how, and we could share a use case.
Yeah, sure. So the search query is one component of it. So when we say search intent, really it's the why somebody's. So the search queries are incorporated, your keyword set's incorporated. There's psychographic libraries that we use to speak to somebody's values or beliefs and what's going to motivate them to take action. But the output of that is content, headlines and descriptions in your RSAs, as well as in some cases, discovering new opportunities through keyword injection and then organizing what's in the account today. If there are ad groups, so there's so many different themes in them, you can't really speak well to all those different themes and then the underlying users that are coming in off of those themes. So that could be a component of it too. So the how is really a three-pronged approach of organization, discovering new opportunities, keyword sourcing and vetting. And then the most important part is the generative AI piece to target those intents. Because with the keywords alone, if you have an ad group, you don't get any traffic on that. You need the ads for the final targeting piece. Am I being clear when I say that?
It's very general. I'll let you go ahead and continue to make your pitch, because show me a use case maybe.
Okay. Why don't I, Ruan, you want to take over?
Why don't you take over?
Show something here.
It was kind of interesting, right? From a tonality and attitude perspective, you actually do a really good job kind of maintaining being even keel. Like, you're relatively stoic, if you will, and you do a good job kind of maintaining that, which is awesome for a tough prospect. I feel like actually, no offense to your boss, I feel like he's probably more impacted by prospect a little more. So good job to you. Way to maintain. He's a tough prospect. That's okay.
Okay, what I'll do here is I'll bring you into, this is a beta app that we have here. So it's kind of in the beginning stages, but this is going to give you an insight into the how. So what we're looking at here, this is Beachbody. This is an account I have permission to share. And I'm going to go a couple months back into December. And what we're looking at here is the search intent coverage for this account. So there's 153,000 total search intents that are coming in the month of December. Again, these search intents are based off of the keyword set and the queries that are coming in off them that we have access to. Some of them are obfuscated. But of those, about 46,000 are being covered. When we say covered, that's an NLP scoring algorithm that's saying, hey, is the content in the ad group speaking to the query that's coming in off that? If it is and it's nicely aligned, it's highly relevant, we consider that covered. If it's not, then it's considered not covered. Following me so far?
Yep.
I'm going to dive into a campaign here. And basically, this is going to drill down and show you intents. We'll start here with the intents not covered. It's a bubble graph. You can see obviously the larger bubble, kind of the bigger opportunity here. You can also scroll over this side and see, okay, these are the search intents that are covered, meaning there's content in this campaign that's coming in and speaking well to the query. So it's a tight line. Let's go into one that is not. This day workout plan here. If we click on that here, you'll see some intent topics that are going to pop up here. And basically, again, this is in the base stage. You can see things like best workout, some number of weeks in workout plan, some number of days in workout, day workout plan. So these are intents that are coming in and aren't being covered in this ad group here, right? So you have all these different ad groups actually that this some number of day workout plan that people are searching for.
Notice here, he is showing a specific use case, right? Which is good. It's a customer story, but how can he customize it more to fit into the customer situation you're talking to? So it's like saying, hey, let me show you, this is what Beachbody has done. Here's the benefits and results. Here's how this will work for you specifically. This way, it helps them understand and visualize in their mind how to actually apply it, right? Because if you think about this in a situation like this, if I'm outside looking in, I'm thinking Beachbody, I'm a school.
Yep.
Like it's a very different market, very different everything. I'm not really aligning to it, especially if we know uncertainties and objection he already brought up. Even if maybe it's your best one to utilize, which is okay, then how can you take it and cater it and build this and make it more customized to him? Okay, so I know this is Beachbody. I know it's a totally different industry. You just address the objection up front. However, for example purposes to show you how it actually works, let me show you the back end. So I want you to imagine instead of X number of workout plans, it's going to be this. Or what would you tell me? What would you measure specifically? Have them tell you, oh, we measure, I don't know, number of applications or something. I have no idea. Number of applications. Cool. So imagine this says number of applications instead. Imagine now you can see this working X, Y, and Z way. You're able to help build a story and translate the use case demo that you're showing to fit into their world, because that's what they're always wondering, will this work for me? So we just help them visualize it, right? In the perfect world, you have exact situation to kind of illustrate, but it's not always the case. So
not being covered, right? You see there's a 7-minute one in here. That's it. These are all ad groups. So far, so good on that?
Yep.
So what we do then is we generate content that speaks to those missing intents. So here.
So we don't know if he's really internalizing it, right? Because it is a lot of information. So perhaps switching the question to, how do you see this apply for your situation? How would you implement this for your school? Slight pivot of a question that hopefully leads to more of an internalization of the solution being shown.
See, this is headlines. This also has descriptions on here, but this is a link into basically our UI that you would get. It's a thumbs up, thumbs down kind of thing. This says MMT workout time. That's the token that we have. But these headlines will get a static headlines, not like DKIs in the account. But when you click on it, you can see that, what's generated here. So that those day, or minute workout times that we're missing, we have content that addresses all those. Every day, somebody's looking at workout. Every day, they're looking at workout 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 days, 10 minutes, 7 minutes, 1 day, et cetera. Basically, any time that comes in, this is all mapped to the NLP to those ad groups. So the approval process is pretty quick and easy. Thumbs up, thumbs down, and then all this uploaded deployed through our API connection that we have with Google and Microsoft. So that's kind of the how.
Okay. And you just said this is beta. So who are your higher ed clients that you're doing this for, and what are the results you're getting?
Okay, so he's getting in a little bit. He's kind of moving. Maybe he's like, okay, this seems to make sense. Okay, cool. Now he's got another question.
So as far as higher ed clients, I don't want to not tell you, but I'd rather put an NDA in place before we discuss that. We have one higher education client. They're pretty big.
Then I should have asked my question differently. How many higher ed clients do you have? One.
Just one. Yeah.
Okay, one. And what is the performance of that one client been? For how long have you had them, and what are the returns?
So we've had them for over a year, and the ROI on their account has been great.
So did you notice the tonality shift in your boss? So you went from pretty confident when he's explaining the demo to now he's getting a tough question. Tone goes up. Upward tone starts to denote a lack of confidence, a weakness. Prospects sniff it right out. So being able to maintain that, it takes a lot of focus, if you will, to be able to control that.
They're a large spender, and they've had different initiatives from time to time. So, sometimes it's been growth, and sometimes they care about, I don't know what your main KPI is, but like an RFI, like a request for information. Sometimes it's been efficiency focused. Other times it's been growth. So the goals have kind of changed in that. It hasn't been like, hey, it's growth over quarter. There's also obviously seasonality to it as well. But yeah, it's been a larger than a 10x ROI relative to these big numbers. Is that attractive ROI to you, Jay, or no?
I don't know.
I don't know how it looks like for us, so I don't know. Whenever a discovery is not done super deep and the demos doesn't feel really customized to them, they maybe see the solution, but they're like, but how will it work for me? How will it work for my use case, my industry, my ICP, my persona for what I do? In reality, the tighter it is aligned, the more likely to actually invest with you and pay way more actually. But the further away that is, they're like, I'm not connecting the dots here, right? Whenever you think about a demo, like you want to feel like it's literally custom fit for them. Imagine a custom fit suit. It's like measured out to exactly your shoulders, to your waist, to how it fits around you, to the length. Everything's custom fit to you. And that's how it feels. Even though the base material is always the same, but they just adjust it to fit you. So you're like, wow. And you're more likely now to pay way more because it's custom fit. You pay $1,000 for a suit like that versus $200 for off the rack, even though the same materials, right? The demo is the same way. More custom fit. Hey, this solution is literally made for higher ed. If they have X number of locations in the US right here, they've been around for business for this long. This is their target student. They're like, wow, this is made for me. Very different. Okay.
Are they a publicly traded school? Are they a four-year institution? Is it?
So you see, these are uncertainty questions. Understanding the profile of the prospect, the customer you guys have.
University of Nebraska type of school? Is it Harvard? Is it vocational? Is it a community college? Are they here in the United States? Are they in Canada? Do they have a fully online program?
US, primarily online. Yes. I think they might be fully online. Yeah.
Good confidence there, right? You can see like good definitive confidence. Good.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. The 17 different locations that you have there. Let me ask you this. Is there a limit to the number of students that you can enroll? I'm imagining because it's, physical location, there's got to be teachers or not
For
really.
some programs, there are no limit.
For some programs, there's no limit. Okay.
Or other programs that are capped.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's all, important stuff that you would, if we ever got no partnership, you get an account manager and a product analyst. And
so what he's doing now is what I call Hail Marys. I'm just going to start throwing stuff out there. I hope something sticks. I hope someone catches this ball.
Nuances or differences in the programs are stuff that you guys would, discuss to dictate what tactics and techniques we might use to either drive efficiency or try to hit that number, that cap number, spending as little as possible.
Okay, and have you talked to Validated Insights about this?
I met with Yolanda. That's who I met with. Is that Validated Insights? Is that the agency?
Validated Insights is the agency.
Yeah, I met with her. The way she described it, again, from your reaction, I guess I was either wrong or misunderstood her, which made it seem a lot of the content that was generated wasn't data backed, but it was strongly influenced by heads of departments and what they were looking for, qualifying criteria in order to get into certain programs, stuff of that nature. But I guess I was mistaken on that.
I'm sure there's corrections to content we produce with feedback, but they don't. So the correlation between search intent and ad intent or campaign intent doesn't always flow, but that's fine. Yeah, I think probably the best thing to do is for you to have a conversation with her, because I don't foresee us in-house leveraging this platform.
Mm-hmm. That's
something more that I would see an agency like them using.
So he may or may not be correct. We don't really know. So this is actually why when we talk about asking the right questions up front, you may disqualify them as part of that process. Because maybe it is better than the agency. And that might have just saved you all that time.
For sure.
Right? It might have been like, you get to the point where it's like, okay, it actually doesn't make, our solution actually doesn't make sense given your scenario. I think what's going to probably make the most sense, because you have big goals to do X, Y, and Z. We should get together with your agency instead and work through them directly. What do you think? Like, oh, yeah, actually, probably better. You didn't pitch anything. They feel better. They don't feel like you're trying to convince them of anything. That actually makes more sense. But we're not going to know because obviously it went that way.
So I would really more suggest going back and having that conversation with her and her people.
And you said that your relationship with them is pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that's good information, good feedback, Recession. So we appreciate you giving us that, and hope this was a good demo here for you.
Just had a question, Chase. So you say we go to the agency.
Good job. Way to take control. Like, all right, okay. I already had the meeting. Let me try to get something out of this. Good job.
How we typically present the opportunity is, like you mentioned, is do an audit. So that's how we would assess, even if there's a lot of opportunity in the account. I guess maybe that's what the agency did as well. And if they agree to doing an assessment, would that be of interest to you as well?
If they believe that this was going to net an improvement in conversions and reduce click costs, yeah, we would look at it.
And then, but by how much? If you had to figure it, like, it's always good to understand any type of metric, but what were you thinking?
I don't know.
I'll let you ask anyways. You're like, I got nothing to lose here. Good job.
Bunch more unbranded paid search. I mean, are they going to convert any higher? Are they going to convert any better? I don't know. So we'd have to look and do the analysis on that. That's something I can tell you.
Sure. Go ahead.
I would probably Shay, would you view this as something like we would work directly with the agents with validated insights and not kind of through Concord with them?
Like I said, there's no in-house person that would use the tool
Mm-hmm.
to do anything with it. We're not, the agency is driving the campaigns. They're doing the work. So it doesn't make sense to say, but again, if this is something that they felt like this would help us, then we would look at whether we implemented it.
And you envision that contract kind of being held with them or with you?
Having thought about that, I would want to hear what they have to say and what they think is value to us, what they think the return will be to us. That's what I would say. And, I would commit to that. Yeah, I think the better route is for you to have a conversation, go through your proposal or demo through with them. And if they saw value in it, then I would do with them and we would have a conversation. Right?
Okay. So a little bit of clarity in terms of maybe the next step for process. Not bad.
Good.
Thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
All right, cool, man. So what'd you think overall?
Yeah, we should have asked a lot more questions. Should have been a little more prepared. The notes that I took was we should have customized the use case to them as well, and talk a little bit more about the experience we have working with one online ed company we have. But then also towards the end, so the way that we would typically work is, as soon as we found this out at the end of the call, is that their agency manages the program. It wouldn't be a fit because then we would be competing together. So that way, if we would get engaged with the agency, because we are an AI platform, but we're also a managed service. So we're like an agency of some sorts. So that agency would see us like a competitor and be like, there's no way we're going to work with this company.
So you bring up a really good point, right? So I'm going to pull this up and kind of show you this. And I know you hop off in a second. So what happens is ultimately the current method that they're currently doing right now is that they are having it running through an agency, right? So that means in your discovery, we need to uncover what they're currently doing and uncover why it does not work anymore. And why the better method is actually going to be through utilizing you. An AI-based platform / agency, if you will. It's a far superior method to what they're already doing. But you can't do that without selling against what they're already doing. So that's actually why, you think about even your framing of questions, some of your questions may be around how the agency relationship works early on, right? So this is kind of a call scorecard for like a disco demo. And this is the framework I teach. But generally speaking, before I go into like a type of demo, to give you some context, these are things you would typically want to cover. And there's levels to it. It's like levels 1 through 10. 10's like the highest level you can get to, which is awesome. One's like I barely did, a kind of checklist. And it's like, cool, this is the powerful framework. They can cover their big problems. One of the biggest problems that we didn't really uncover any problems, right? We didn't dive deep enough. We don't know what the opportunity cost is or the cost of action. So what happens if they don't make a change? How about their wants, needs, desires? So like what made him interested to begin with? And if he's able to solve this problem he has, how will it help his overall business? How will it help the school? Why is that important for him? We don't know these things. Those things really help. It helps you tie from getting more students in, but it leads to also other bigger goals too. It all ties together. We don't really know what decision-making process really quite yet. We didn't get a chance to dive into that. Resources, access to funds. We don't know if there's doubt, uncertainty with their current vendor, right?
Yep.
Maybe there's gaps there, the vendor. We don't really know. Okay. Do they have unequivocal trust in you, the company's solution? And what are some other specifications, some of the little things they might have to have? So if we can cover these things before you go into a demo, now your demo can be so customized because you can show them all the things that are going to solve the problems, help them get to where they want to go, and they feel really good. Does that make sense?
It does, for sure.
That makes it much easier to go across the board. All right, cool. Any other thoughts before we wrap up this part of the webinar?
No, this has been super helpful. I appreciate you having me on here and running through this. Unfortunately, I do have to jump, but yeah, this was great. And I'm sure you're going to be sharing this, and well, I would love to listen to it again.
Cool. I'll send to you after this uploads, but thanks for being on. So have a great day.
Yeah.
Everyone else just stay on. We'll do the open Q&A right after. So Ruin, great job. Give him a round of applause if you can.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. So there you have it, a live customer call breakdown. If you'd like to get our direct help and coaching and learn the exact system that over 500 clients are using to dominate and blow out their numbers, you can apply for our program in the link in the description. Now, if you'd like to see a live cold call breakdown next, I'll see you in the next video right here.